Good evening, everybody, and welcome to your Wednesday night show. Wise Up. It's not show Wise Up, Rise Up. Be Inspired Mastermind. It's beautiful to see so many of you joining us tonight. There are a few apologies, which is all good. Sending love to everybody who needs it. If you're watching on the replay, I kind of want to get in that blanket with our Zoe and get all snuggled up. She's snug as a bug in a rug. Look at her there. So this evening, we have got one of my wing women joining us. We've got all of my wing women on the call tonight, which is probably for the best because I've lost the ability to speak. For some reason, I am tripping up over all my words. I think it's got to do with the fact that I had zero sleep last night. But tonight, my loves, my angels, my darlings, it's a new moon. And on a new moon, if you haven't already, it's a great time of the month to set your intentions for the coming month, to release all the shit that you're letting go of, all of that sort of stuff. But does anybody follow the Schumann resonance? Is that what it's called, the Schumann resonance? If you do, and you get the graph, it talks about the energies of the earth. Anna's looking at me like this. What the fuck are you talking about, Danny? So it is a measure of the energies that are given off by the earth and the sun and all this sort of stuff. And apparently last night it was mental and I didn't sleep. Did anybody else have trouble sleeping last night? Was it not just me? It couldn't have just been me. And from about 2 o'clock onwards, and then it was 6:30, and then I was sad in my heart. I was like, oh, and it was a really busy day today. But thank you to everybody who's had one-to-ones in the past couple of days and just been awesome. You slept like Anna Fox slept like a log till 5:40. Go on then.
I woke up exactly at 2 a.m. and could not go back to sleep. So yes, I felt the energies.
Did you? It's funny, isn't it? It's funny when you tune in. But yes, it's a new moon. So it's a great time for us as a squad. 4 weeks to go till our event. Is everyone okay when I say that out loud? 4 weeks to go till our event. We need your PowerPoint stuff in if you haven't had it already. Apologies, I want to say a public apology to our Joanna, who's been chasing a tail and sending us stuff. I think we've got us all, I think we're all sorted now. We do have everything that we need for this moment in time. So thank you for sending it a million times. I think there was just a bit of, I think Wallace was being a man about the situation.
I thought I was going crazy. I was like, I'm sure that I keep on sending this stuff. No. And they asked me for it. I was like, I'm going crazy. But I did squeak at the email. I'm like, Wallace!
Oh, no, not Joanna. Oh, don't mess it up.
No, it's fine. I'm just relieved that I've got confirmation. You've got everything. And
we have got everything. He is working away on your stuff as we speak, which is brilliant. So Wallace is working his way through. So you will be receiving back your PowerPoints as he works through them. It takes him a couple of days per PowerPoint, make sure they get all right and they're all sorted. If you have not sent in your guide for your slides, please do. If you're struggling, please shout, even if you send it. So me and Samantha often do this, like she'll send me ideas and then I'll voice note back, for example. Is if you're struggling to kind of get time with me, or I'm not available in the next 2 days, then just send me a voice note or send me a message. If you need me to look at anything or need to give you a bit of guidance, just give me a shout. I will find a way of being able to speak to you all. Don't worry, you are still my priority throughout all of the noise of this week and the Flying Away Foundation stuff. Be Inspired is still right at the top of the list. So, and making sure you guys have got everything that you need is also there. So to help you with the things that you need, including like sharing on socials in the run up, we've got Kathy with us this evening to run a bit of a session with us. Now, when Kathy was due to be on last time, I did talk through the plan, Kathy, just to kind of fill you in because it was really helpful. You'd given us such a comprehensive guideline of what to do in the weeks in the run up. It made sense to kind of go through that. So I did go through that with the squad when we spoke last, just as an FYI.
Yeah. I wasn't actually planning to go through that. I was going to do a little bit more general. Perfect. and probably just to share a bit how I would deal with the current situation that we're all witnessing, etc., and how to bring that into your copy as well and your content, because I think it's really important in this time to be you have to be focused on your business, but you also have to be relevant. So I think that's probably going to be the arc of my conversation. Sorry, Danny, I probably should have told you.
Yeah, and that's okay, because I know a lot of us are feeling it. Like, it's good for us to be reactive in this way with regards to what's happening out there, what's uncouth right now, what feels right. I don't know if anybody saw, there's this guy on LinkedIn, Amazon were running an event and completely capitalized on the fact that Amazon were about to invade, much like Ukraine. And like, you're like, oh my God, how, what can you, he's been fired now. He's been fired from the event, this guy, but completely, you know, taking marketing in current climate to the wrong level, to a level that was, you know, really, really offensive. I was going to say I'll share it, but the guy doesn't need any more airtime. I think he did it in complete and utter daftness than he did with malice. I don't think he was doing it kind of, oh, you know, like you get the likes of Rob Moore, for example, who purposefully posts controversial content that's like, there should be no women speakers. Has anyone come across this before? Sam actually had to bring this guy on stage. I was so proud of you. It's like proper big this guy up when he says about women speakers. But he does it on purpose to generate conversation, to generate engagement. I don't think that's what this guy did, but it was very sloppy, very lazy sales tactics, engagement tactics that we don't need to use. So I think that it's interesting, Kathy, to bring that to the table for our overall learning anyway. So these sessions aren't just about getting you prepared for the event. I know I say this to you quite often, but they're not just about this event. It's about all the events in your social media and your PR that you do going forward. It turned out to be a really nice guy in person. No doubt. Absolutely no doubt in my mind that he would be. There's no reason not to be, but it pays him a fair wedge in engagement and in being divisive like that. Do you have to be like that? I don't believe so, but that's just me. So without further ado, my darlings, I think that's all of the admin and the housekeeping. Please make sure that you've got your PowerPoints through to us so all this can start working on them, and make sure I, as his wife, manages workflow. Let's be perfectly honest. Make sure that he's all sorted and he's got the right thing at the right time. But Catherine, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So I want to start by asking you guys, how many of you are actually on LinkedIn at the moment? Just a show of hands. Okay, and how active are you? Like once a week, twice a week, less than that?
Jump on and have a little scroll and jump back off again. See your mate, like them and bugger off.
Okay, fair enough. So I think what I want to start with, and I'm going to move around a little bit, but what I want to start with is, I think it's healthy if you embrace LinkedIn as a networking event. It's just like a mega 24/7 networking event where you get to meet new and interesting people who are possibly in your field, potential clients, people you could learn from. It's just a huge community. And if you embrace it with that mindset, I think your experience of it changes, right? So I think some of you are like sort of dipping your feet in, maybe you're not sure how to navigate it. But I think with that mindset, it starts to already create a different kind of approach for you, for the platform. With that understanding it like a network and potentially like a group of, let's say, colleagues. They're not necessarily friends, but they're like potential colleagues for you, let's call it that. If you approach it with that, there's a little bit of vulnerability that you need to always share. And there's also a bit of balance of, you know, where your business is going, sharing the successes, sharing the wins and stuff like that. So I think in this period of time, it's probably one of the toughest platforms to get away with not addressing the current situation in the world. In that way, it's a bit like Twitter. So Twitter responds to news very quickly, very instantaneously. LinkedIn is a little bit like that. So there is a big focus on current events. You can be featured by LinkedIn on their news team if you are following a current event and commenting and sharing your thoughts. And if your thoughts are interesting to the editor, they can easily feature you. It doesn't matter who you are, right? So I got featured for commenting on Facebook's Meta announcement, right? I have nothing to do with Facebook and Meta, but I just made a sensible comment. And I was actually the first feature for 30 minutes, which got me like 70,000 views, right? So it's possible to get this kind of traction and reach on LinkedIn if your content is on point. And if you hit the right notes with the people in your network to get that content engaged with. right? So I think it's really important to sort of feel your way through this, but also understand that there's a bit of instantaneous newsy bit as well as engaging content that you can do on the regular. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I'm not on LinkedIn, but I want to be. I've been avoiding it until recently, to be honest, as it feels a bit cold, is it? Let me just look at it. Corporate, though my opinions have really started to change. So look, it is quite corporate. I mean, this is where all the corporate people are, but it is also where business people are. So if you want to make business, and if you want to make business with other companies, which is always a good idea, it's essential to be there. It's essential to be relevant there. Especially with your product range as well, Sam, especially with your vehicle, it makes a whole heap of sense to be attracting corporate. They've got the pockets as well, right? Yeah, exactly. So it's important to position yourself, and there are different types of content you could have on the platform, and I'll talk through that a bit later. But I just want to touch on the crisis first, and then we could get into sort of general LinkedIn things. So right now, if you're admitted to yourself or not, I don't know, you're feeling heavy about what's happening in the world. There's a lot of fear. And as an entrepreneur as well, it's like, you know, it's so easy for our sort of pipeline of things to disappear in a crisis, right? We've had that with COVID. We've been through this experience before. So I think it's important first for you to kind of internalize what that fear really means to you, and make sure that you're okay with it first before you take to the platform to start potentially talking about it. And you have to choose the angles that you talk about it with. And the angles are going to be, first of all, speak from a place of, I don't want to say healing because it's hard to really be healed, but speak from a place of, I know where I am and I know what steps I'm taking, but I want to acknowledge how I'm feeling, right? That's one of the key things. The second part of this, and this is the opportunity part of this, a lot of people are feeling that, right? So people will respond to an honest post. And just to give you an idea, I know many of you are probably moms. I'm not, but I'm sure many of you are. Your kids are probably asking you questions about this, right? And they're probably anxious about this. And this is also an interesting arc of conversation to have on the platform about it. There are other people who will be going through this exact same situation with you, other moms, other entrepreneurs, people who are feeling that as well. So this is already a way to sort of bring people into your world, to see your vulnerability, to feel it, and to feel connected to you, to feel like they identify with what you're going through in your story. The second part of this is that you have this wonderful event coming up where I don't know the topics of your talks, but if I were you, I would find some way to acknowledge the situation. Of course, we don't know what it's going to be like in 30 days, but I would find some way to acknowledge the situation, either the courage of the people in Ukraine or something else, some other arc that you want to talk about. But the second part is to really bring people to the event, because this is an opportunity for you guys to bond and share. Right, so it's I would hugely, I mean, okay, I'm already going, but if I was speaking on the stage, etc., I would really leverage this as an opportunity to get a few old friends together, to really spend that time with me, to really be there for me, because you know what, we're all missing connection. It's like, I know we have it, but there's something about this thing that just feels scary. You feel vulnerable. You don't want to sound like the person who's doubting or lacking faith, but you just want to have someone there for you. And if I were you, I would find a way to work this into your copy for the next couple of days. So it could be something like, hey, you know, I'm going with a few other entrepreneurs to this event, or I'm speaking at this event and a couple of my other entrepreneur friends are joining me. Do you want to join us? But make it about the community that you want to build, right? It's like what we're seeing in Ukraine is so inspiring. Like, it would be great to bring even a little sliver of that in any sort of face-to-face events that you're having. So this is how I would encourage you to sort of incorporate both the opportunity and the vulnerability of this event in your copy. Go ahead, Danny, I can see you.
I was just going to say, Abby Horn, for example, posted about having more women in positions of power and that being powerful women together. I know we've got Tommy, we've got male members of the audience, but if the balance was shifted and there were more nurturers on our presidential boards in our governments, would we be experiencing the same things? Don't know, but it was interesting for her to comment on that. Still, it was completely within her brand, and still, you know, she's talking about it on her podcast because she's been pushing her podcast this week, for example, in a really authentic way, talking about how, you know, if we had more women on our in our governments, would they fight harder for our sons? You know, as a mother of a son, we feel differently about these things. So when it comes to events like this, the opportunity to become more powerful together, the opportunity to link arms, the opportunity to, you know, speak out, utilizing our ability and our freedom in this particular point in time to speak where people can't speak is an amazing ability that we have, and an amazing grace that we have right now, as particularly as a group of people in the UK. Yeah. There is the possibilities are endless for how you can use your own corner of being inspired in your talk to inspire other people. Fiona, for example, from a leadership point of view, Zoe, sustainability leadership, Sam, the lion inside, fuck me, that sits right along, but the way that the Ukraine is behaving right now is the lion inside the mouse, right? Yeah. So for you, Joanna, thinking about protecting your family just in case anything happens, like it affects every single one of us can say something about this within our platform, not to kind of, you don't have to get political. This is not like us saying, like, you've got to post about war now, that's what you've got to start doing. But how do you utilize what's happening in the world to speak to where you're speaking to? So it's almost like, you know, when I talk to you about finding like tenuous links and daft loops and analogies, it's like that, but it's not tenuous and it's not daft. It's real and it's happening and people are thinking about it. So it's much easier for them to connect with when you're speaking about it. Yeah. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I think it makes complete sense. And, you know, obviously we have to feel out the situation. We don't know where this is going to be on the 30th of March when you guys are taking the stage, or 31st of March. But I think in your copy, it's something worth covering as you lead up. And if you want to include some line about it, even if it's just one line, right, one little quote that you come up with that alludes to this, I think it already it bears strength. So I think that's going to be important. And I think also when it comes to LinkedIn and possibly other platforms that you're on, make the invitation open enough that people feel like even if they're a stranger, it's worth them coming to spend this time with you, if you understand what I mean. So it's not like you're just going there with a bunch of friends. You're going there to sort of meet your community, right? You want to invite people in your community to come and spend this time with you and to share this moment with you at these incredible times, right? So it's authenticity. It's really talking, bringing out what you're feeling, making sure that you go through that process of understanding what it is you're feeling, and then finding a way to get that into people's consciousness, the people who are following you. So I think this is really, really important. I mean, I've done 2 posts today that had not a single reaction on them. And it's simply because I'm not being fully in integrity with myself. I'm still going through my process. So I don't want to talk specifically to the Ukraine situation, but I think people know this about me and probably look at my posts and say, like, you're not being yourself. Because people know that I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve when it comes to these things. I feel every global event as if it were happening to me. So I know that I need to deal with this too, but that's why I'm saying that it's important. I can see the difference in people's responses when I deal with the stuff than when I don't.
I mean, interestingly for Kathy, for those people that don't know, Kathy's really a global citizen, has spent her entire life from Trinidad and Tobago all over the world, living in all of the different countries, all the different cultures in the world. So I guess when you've experienced life like that, you are, you are a true global citizen. So you see things from lots of different cultural perspectives. And it's a really good insight when you're creating your social media to be thinking about things like that. It's broadening outside of the buy my shit, what grow my business, to what's the impact have I got here in the world? What if I am in a dark room and I am a candle, how much light am I giving out? Like, what does that mean? And this translates to all of you, regardless of the world situation right now, is whatever the world situation is.
Absolutely. So okay, so now that I've set the tone for that, I think it's important, but obviously I think you also need to take the stage and really enjoy this whole process. And there is an enjoyment and an excitement part about this as well that you also need to talk about. I mean, I know because I've done it. I remember at this point, or maybe a week from now, I was telling Danny, I don't want to do this anymore. And Danny was like, come on, right? You just have to come up on the stage and do your thing. You already know your speech. I mean, Danny hardly even worried about my speech. She's like, I'm not worried, it's going to happen.
How many times have I said that to, who's had me say that to them? Just give us a wave so everybody knows they're not on their own. I'll tell you when I'm worried, I'm not worried.
Exactly. So I think there's an excitement that comes, and like the night before, for example, like my stomach literally was in flutters. I could not spend time with the others. Like, I know this is part of the excitement and some people thrive on it, but for me, I needed to take myself completely away from everyone. I went to sleep playing my speech. I recorded it on my phone and I went to sleep playing my speech. So that I can just, I don't know, subliminally get it into my subconscious the next day.
It's a perfect example of owning your process. And again, something that I've said to you time and time again, own your process. Go out for a meal if you want to go out for a meal. Have a drink if you want to have a drink. Don't. If you don't want to, go and hold yourself up, have a little spa evening, get a face mask. If you just want to sit and chill with you, if you brought your other half with you or your kids with you, do own your process. Nobody's judging you.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's a lot to talk about with this whole journey. There's a lot that you're feeling, and I feel like if you're journaling, great, because you have a lot of good points, I'm sure, to talk about it. If you're not journaling, probably when you feel the flutters, make a bit of a note, right? And see how you could turn that into brilliant content across any of your platforms. So that's my overview content piece. I want to talk you through just a very light touch on LinkedIn so that you get a sense for some important things with the platform. And I will discuss how you can potentially relate those things to what's happening now and this event, and then use it later on when you're having other events. But okay, so could I possibly share my screen, Danny, or Anna, whoever's in control? Okay, thank you. So Joanna, you've probably seen this before, so try not to spill the beans. All right, so just very quickly, I want to share this person. She does not know that I have her image here. But I want to ask you, how do you feel about her profile? What does her profile make you feel? At some point, I need to write to her to thank her for how lovely her profile is, because she makes it easy for me to talk through this conversation. So glam, okay. Any other comments about how it makes you feel? I think one of the things that comes up for me whenever I see this, so I see some more comments, let's see. Colorful, feminine, beautiful. I love it. Pink, professional, and engaged. Yes. Okay. So one of the things that came up for me when I found her profile was, oh my goodness, this woman is so on point. Like, you look at this, you land on her landing page, and this is the first thing you see, and you think, I know what this woman does, and I know that she's good at what she does. Right. And this is the kind of thing that you kind of want people to feel when they first visit your profile on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, the way LinkedIn manages its platform, it's a bit like a landing page. It's a bit like a website. So it's searchable like any other website. It has, LinkedIn itself is a powerful search algorithm. And if you can land on the top part of your page and feel this, if anyone can land on your page and feel this, they're likely to scroll down and discover more. They're going to want to know more about you. They're going to want to click into your past activity and see what you talk about and explore your other content. So it's so important to have this kind of presence on a platform like LinkedIn and being different. So one of you said that it's very corporate. Look at this. It's not very corporate, is it? Right. So I seriously need to update my page. Yes,
Do you
exactly.
know Lisa Newport out of interest?
I don't know her, no.
I do. I know her really well. And she's amazing. She's
you have to make me an introduction
she will
because
be
I use
so happy to know that you've picked this up and you're sharing it. And particularly that you're sharing it in my community. She'll be like, oh my God, she'll be made up.
You have to make me an introduction because
I will.
I definitely use her a lot and I have never told her. No, but it's like it's one of the easiest profiles to really communicate the message that I'm talking about. It's so easy to grasp what this person is about just from a simple thing like preparing a really well thought out profile landing page. So that's probably one of your most important things. You know, we talk about showing up on platforms regularly. Instagram is like, it's really a content engine. Like you need to feed the beast all the time. With LinkedIn, you can get away with just doing a great profile and just commenting on really clever comments on people's posts and getting as much visibility as you would on Instagram. So where on Instagram, you know, your comments aren't really shown to anyone. On LinkedIn, your comments are shown to the people who are following you, especially if it's a popular post. So when you're thinking about how you plan out your LinkedIn, you need to consider all of these things, but definitely once people come to visit your profile, you want them to know everything that they could possibly know that will give them the feeling of trust, right? And that's the idea that you want to create. You want to create quick trust. And that's what I think Lisa's managed to do with her profile. All right, so the role of the profile is to help people find you and then to make them stay once they find you. So those are the key things that you want to get out of preparing your profile. So we didn't talk about the words on Lisa's profile. We were just talking about the sort of branding, but the other bits of building a great profile is creating a keyword rich profile. So really thinking through the keywords that you want to be found for, the key hashtags that you want to be found for, and using the creator mode to make sure that you can feature the hashtags that are important to you. And then you can craft the experience of the person visiting your page, right? So how you lay out that page. Yes, you have sort of LinkedIn's building blocks, but what messages you communicate at different points of your page will also be important for the user experience. So how are they going to journey through how they experience you? So some LinkedIn coaches tell you to put like the lowest level of working with you on your LinkedIn profile so that you screen people. I think in a networking event, you don't do that. If you go to a networking event, you don't tell people your prices. You really build connections. So I really don't recommend putting your prices. I recommend building an experience that builds trust. And that should be your priority. And that trust is a funny thing. Sometimes the trust isn't even something where the person has actually worked with you. Sometimes you transfer their trust and they recommend you without ever having worked with you. And that's what I've experienced on this platform, right? I've had people just introduce me to other people just because they know that I'm credible with the things that I do there. And therefore they want me to know this other person that they follow who's also an influencer, etc. So really understanding how to optimize your profile and get that rich keyword as well as the landing page, and then craft the experience of the user that builds trust is a really strong way to position yourself. Then I want to just talk in high level. I know this is a scary slide, and you know, if you want to work with me on this, I'm here for it. But the main messages I want to tell you about this slide is that there are about 21 different things that you could update on LinkedIn in terms of your profile. Some of those things are for visibility. So that first page of Lisa that I showed you, all those things at the top, which is the URL, which you can also have, you know, depending on what is more known, whether it is your name that is more known or your business name, you can change your URL. Or if you have a sort of fun name that you wanted to use that you feel that you want to be known for, you can also use that in your URL. Like Danny might want to use the Queen Bee instead of Danny Wallace. I don't think she has, but this could be an option for her. And then you get into your name. So your name, you can use different things for your name. So I know some people put their sort of identifying personal brand with their name. So like I have a friend who calls herself the classification guru or something like this. You know, I'm the wing woman for your genius, you know, Danny is the queen bee. You know, you can have additional things with your name if you wanted to, as long as it identifies you and not necessarily your full business, but it identifies you. You can have messages on your banner, which like what Lisa had. So she didn't actually have to put words, she just put her clothes all color-coded and lovely. Your profile picture also communicates warmth and trust. So choose well your profile picture, because that sends a message, and you want it to send a message you want to communicate. It does not have to be corporate and stiff. If you put a corporate and stiff picture there, then people will think you're corporate and stiff. So think about the picture that you put. The headline, the first 50 characters of your headline will get shown on every single comment that you make on LinkedIn, every single one. So you want to make sure those first 50 characters communicate something of power about your brand or about what you do. Then DEI statements. And this one is, people might think it's a nice to have, you know, it's like, I don't need to be identified as anything because I am clearly a woman, or I am clearly a man. I think DEI statements are important because it shows inclusivity. It shows that you acknowledge that other people may want to be identified in a certain way. And therefore, if you make it easier to let people know how you want to be called, it makes other people more aware that they should ask, they should inquire as to how people want to be referred to. So I think DEI statements are just an important way of showing that you are inclusive as well. Hashtags is something that you get with the creator mode. So the other bits I won't talk through in much detail, but just to say that searchability is about all those keywords that you're going to layer through the activity that you put in, the skills, the experience, even your past experience, right? You can take, and this is where I think people often don't optimize LinkedIn. If you have past experience, which is maybe not specifically relevant, but has elements that are relevant to what you do today, then that's what you include in the experience section. You can put your job title, but put literally the kinds of things that you did that could give you credibility for what you're doing today, right? You don't have to go into the role description that you had or anything like that. Just talk about stuff that's relevant. Features are a really great way to showcase things like your website, or, you know, if you have a podcast or you have an event coming up and you want people to find a link easily, you can put that in the features, and that's a very easy way for people to engage with your content. The about section is really like your mini bio, but it's better to be in the first person. Unless you do a lot of speaking gigs, and then you might want to make it third person so that it's easy for people to lift it from there to do your bio for the speaking gig. And then providing services is the way that you highlight what you do. Open for work is another option, depending on if you're a consultant. I would only use this if you're consulting, to be honest. And then the other things just give you credibility. So recommendations, accomplishments, licenses and awards, any additional education and all of that stuff. So those are just like some housekeeping things that I would recommend that you do if you want to just create the profile in the best way. You spend probably, you know, a couple of days doing this, and then you leave it alone. You know, maybe you just make a few comments, but just getting this right is already half the battle. Okay, so then I want to talk about the voice, and I kind of started with this when I said that, you know, the way you address people on the platform changes depending on the vibe of the platform. So Facebook has always been a friends platform, and let's call it the sort of born in the 70s and 80s, potentially a little bit of the 90s, friends platform, where Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok and stuff have taken the younger generations. But you tend to have people that you've grown up with, and, you know, it was the first place that we all connected with our friends outside of, you know, physical contact. So Facebook definitely has that feel to it, and therefore the kinds of stuff you share is definitely a lot more personal, a lot deeper, a lot more vulnerable, perhaps. Instagram, you know, they call each other followers. So there is something about that platform that for me feels a little bit more disconnected until you get into the DMs, right? So you want to attract people enough to get into your DMs, but generally this followers thing seems a little bit aloof to me. Maybe that's just me. Twitter is very news heavy, so it's followers as well, but it's very fast paced, and it's not necessarily probably where many of you spend your time. And on LinkedIn, they call connections, right? So it's a different vibe. It's already communicating this idea of building a network, and that's why I reinforce that idea when I talk about it. So there are 4 voices that I recommend that you use when you speak on LinkedIn. And the first one is speaking in this sort of collegiate sort of voice. We having a shared experience of some kind. Acknowledge your part of that experience. You don't have to go too deep. So this is why I talk about doing a little bit of self-work first, because it's not like Facebook where you can just be kind of raw. I think you have to be a little bit more cultured on LinkedIn, slightly more. And then you want to also choose content that drives impact and engagement. So when I talk about impact, I'm talking about having something that you advocate for. So in Danny's case, it is the Fly Anyway Foundation and survivors of domestic abuse, or people who have experienced domestic abuse, as she commented this morning. And, for me, it's sustainability, but whatever is your key message, this is the kind of thing you want to advocate for on the platform. So anytime something comes up about your advocacy topic, you want to be commenting on that, because this is also bringing a bit of a different type of credibility. It's bringing trust, if I'm being honest. It's bringing trust about you being consistent about the things that you advocate for. And, I recommend only having sort of 1 or 2 advocacy topics, otherwise it gets a little bit hairy. Then relational. So relational engagement is sort of, someone in your area, someone who is, doing the same thing or going through a similar journey or something like that. You try to relate, right? And then the final one is driving value. So this is just like in any other platform, you want to share a post that actually gives value and gives people ideas and things that they can do, so that they might want to save the post, they might want to like or comment or say that the post is insightful. So you want to create a rich scope of content along these lines. You should also always, every week, have something that tells people to go somewhere and click on something of yours, whether it be to get on your mail list, to sign up for your newsletter, or even to join a course, right? So if you wanted them to join something that you're selling, I would recommend having at least 1 post a week that is directly saying, buy something from me, or join my email list. Right? So it's really telling people what to do, not just the nice stuff. You have to do the hard stuff too. Okay, so in general, there are 3 ways that you could sort of generate opportunity for your business on the platform. Your pure network, so really just working the network, going into the DMs and talking to people you already know and asking them to introduce you to other people. Don't underestimate the power of that. It works really well, especially if people already believe in what you do. The other one is outbound. So the other extreme is the outbound exploration, and this is cold messages. We all know how we experience cold messages wherever we get them. So you really want to be careful about these. I have seen people do them really well, and I've seen them done really badly. So if you wanted to know more about that, I can share some ideas, but generally speaking, this is the one that people fear the most because they know how they experience it. And then the one that I want to spend a little bit of time on today is the inbound inquiry. And I'm just going to check the time to see how I'm doing for time, just to make sure that I don't overdo it. Okay. So again, there's a lot of possible ways that you can generate inbound sort of, let's call it, you can do content that generates inbound leads on the platform. I would focus on 3 things that I want to explain to you now, which is the top 3. And then I will pick out a few others that I think are worth using for what's coming up. So post, articles, and documents. Whenever someone clicks on your profile and then they click on see all of your activity, they see headlines that say posts, articles, and documents. And the thing about this is that post has everything. So it has literally everything you talk about. Articles only has your articles, and documents only have PDFs that are like carousels on the platform. So what you want is to make sure that you have really clever stuff, maybe all your value stuff, as well as a message about you in those 2 blocks of articles and documents, because it's easier for people to go into those articles and documents and get a sense for you than it is to scroll through all of your posts and activity. So you want to make sure that you have smart things in your articles and documents. If even you don't do many, if even it's just one across both, so one nice long form article that tells a story about you, and one nice document that gives some value, that would already be enough to give people a sense for who you are. And it's a quick win. So I would recommend to approach it like that. Polls are great because they're easy to engage with, and people can do it anonymously, which incidentally, most of LinkedIn users are like that. So they spend time on the platform, but they never comment, like some of you, right? You spend time there, you never really comment, you never really like or engage, but you're reading and you're consuming. Polls make it easy for those people to get involved with what's happening on the platform because they don't have to be seen. And one of the things is that, yes, it's still a lot of corporate people there, and therefore they don't necessarily want their bosses to know what they're commenting on, etc. So polls are great. Comments get, as I mentioned before, comments can get featured by the news team, by the way. I've had that happen to me as well as they generate some traffic if you choose the right influencers to comment on. So I once commented on a Simon Sinek post that got me like 100 extra likes and follows. I did the same thing with, because I do career coaching as well, and I did the same thing with a lady who writes CVs. And I commented that all the words that are used in the CVs are very masculine oriented, and it's no wonder women feel like they need to be men in order to make it in the workplace. And that comment had like so many connections and follows afterward, like crazy. So commenting cleverly really works depending on how you focus it and how you think it through as it relates to your business. Shares are, it's not the best. I think if you're not really good at summarizing content, or you're not having the time to summarize the content and make that share a post in itself. So if you're not going to add enough value to the post as a share, then I recommend don't do a share, just do a comment. It will actually get a bit more traction than a share. So the other things I would sort of recommend that you get involved with. So they've started testing audio groups. So if you wanted to join one of those and see what it's like, you know, the thing that's come across from Clubhouse now to LinkedIn, I've never gone into one. I want to dip into one and just see how it is. But I get the sense that it will grow on LinkedIn. So I think it's something that you want to get amongst and understand how it works. And of course, like it does on Clubhouse, I know that one of the LinkedIn gurus that I follow, she spent a lot of time on Clubhouse building her LinkedIn following, incidentally. So she was doing LinkedIn masterclasses on Clubhouse and got loads of people to follow her. So I think it's an interesting proposition to get to know people, because suddenly they hear your voice. And if you're engaging on something that's interesting, they want to get amongst that. So I think that's really a good idea. Groups, I would suggest that you don't use, except if you want to understand who might be interested in your topic. So you might want to look into a group to see who are the people in there and if any of them are interesting to connect with. But engaging on a group is almost like wasting your time. So that would be my quick recommendations. Okay, so that's kind of all I want to share with you guys. I hope it was useful.
That's kind of all. It's all a bit, you know, just not a lot, nothing too valuable or anything like that. Just a little scratch of the surface.
So if you have any questions, let me know. And specific to this journey that you're on, it could be interesting. I think I asked Wallace, and I need to follow up with him, to prepare a size of background so that you can talk about the event, so that people understand that this is a big thing and, you know, it's happening.
I think he has created a LinkedIn border to the specification that you sent him. So we do have that as an asset that we can pop into both of the chats for you all.
Perfect. So I'll follow up with him just to make sure it's the right size for the personal page, because the ones that I saw, I think, were the size for your business page,
okay,
but not for the personal page. So I'll just check in and make sure we have that. Any questions at all?
I think everyone's like that. Wow. Do pop your questions in the chat just now, you guys, if you do have them. But can I just say, it might have felt in this moment like this is a lot, but actually having some of these things prepared in the background, even if we record this and you revisit it even directly after the event itself. The things that Kathy shared just then are really invaluable when it comes to reaching more people, making more money, right? That's the reason, or one of the strap lines for the whole like be heard, be inspired experience is so that you can reach more people and make more money. One of the best ways to do this as a speaker, specifically as a speaker, if you're wanting to choose this as a revenue stream for you, if you're wanting more speaking gigs, paid corporate gigs, all of this, you would be leaving money on the table. You would be missing a trick if you didn't have some nuts and bolts tightened up in terms of your LinkedIn. So Kathy's been working on my LinkedIn now for about 6 months, just heading into sort of our 9 month. We nearly had a baby together. So we've, for the past 6 months, but already in just 6 months of posting valuable content over there, we've seen active paid inquiries coming through, active, brilliant collaboration opportunities coming through, opportunities to speak in different places, on different platforms, to different audiences. So for those of you that wanted to grow your audience right now and feel like they are pissing in the wind with regards to social media, like you might be posting stuff on Instagram and feel like you're going, I'm here, everybody, I'm here, and no one's really fucking listening. LinkedIn is actually a really good way of making your presence felt and having that really interactive. So don't worry if you feel overwhelmed in this moment. I don't want you to go out from the tail end of this and then go, right, tonight your own work, everyone, is to go and completely rehash your LinkedIn and go and get it all sorted out. Kathy's so good at this that it will be remiss of us not to give you some help with it, especially because it's for speakers and LinkedIn, the two really do go side by side. So don't feel like, if you feel overwhelmed by your work situation, the current situation, the fact that you've got a talk to do in 4 weeks you might not feel 100% ready for, which is absolutely perfect, by the way. It's okay, everybody feels like that at this point. Don't feel like you're on your own. This is recorded, it's in your members area, and you can go back and revisit this at any time you want. So don't sit there going, well, I've got something else to do now, fucking hell. Because I had a paddy like that last week. I was like, I saw somebody who had a really, 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 really good Instagram profile, and I got mad at them because it gave me more work to do. I was dead mad. I looked at him and thought, oh God, I'm shit, aren't I? Fucking hell. I'm going to have to work harder. Am I not working hard enough? Who is this guy? Right? Don't want you feeling like that. But this is something that will definitely improve your ability and your capacity to get booked. So do it if you're able. If you don't, park it, come back to it when you are, because that stuff will remain, this relatively evergreen stuff that Kathy's been sharing. What are you lot saying? One of the things I find difficult is the time it takes for all the places that you can post it. Yeah, and I want you to just, I mean, specifically for you, for anybody, choose 2, fly with the 2, do 2 well. Don't feel like you've got to spread yourself in all of the places all of the time. Just do a couple well. And the reason why I say 2 is if one goes down, you've got the other one. And the reason why LinkedIn is a good one is because Instagram and Facebook are intrinsically related.
Yes.
So having something out of the metaverse isn't a bad idea. Started writing notes and then just wrote, watch this again. Yes, Sam. I knew you would. Oh my God, that's my Insta. I feel like I'm ticking a box. I should probably move my efforts over to LinkedIn Golden Nuggets. Thank you. It was a proper paddy that I had. I spat my dummy. I had a little cry and everything. Because this guy was so good. Oh, I'm dead mad at him, and he's brilliant, and he's lush, and he's really friendly, and he's dead helpful. But what he did is he set the bar for me higher, but I needed the bar setting higher because I can't go through life thinking, oh, this is the best I can be, I'm dead good. And this is just an example of one of those times where you can see that the bar might be set a little bit higher for you right now. It's okay, it's something to aim towards. All right, things I want you to think about this week. I want you to think about your walk-on music, because that's an exciting thing to think about, isn't it? I know lots of you have been considering it. We're going to pop up a little thread in the rehearsal space so we can share it. I think who's claimed Raw already? Sam's claimed Raw. And what others have we got? Joanna, was you raising your hand for some walk-on music then? She's like, no, can't even contemplate Whatever makes you feel good. Sarah's claimed fight song. Who do we tell when we know? Anna, tell Anna. Just drop her a little message. Galvanize for Tanya. Get
Just
on your feet.
Tell me everything.
If you have an idea, you go, oh, Anna. Like that's what I would do. Make sure that you
with your music, if there's like a really long intro bit and you want to get to the juicy bit. So Sam, I'm thinking for you, you might want the chorus. If you can give us a timestamp, that would be really helpful.
Superstar DJ Sam Harris, by the way, she knows.
Yeah. A timestamp. Because last year somebody was like, what's a timestamp? The timestamp is the bit where the bit you want kicks in. So in a standard like Spotify version of this song, the bit you want starts at 1 minute and 32 seconds. And that's the bit we'll queue up. Obviously, there'll be a run up to that point, and then bah! That's the bit where you start strutting through the audience, getting
everyone's going mental. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it's the bit, it's not just like the start bit where it's all literal instrumental and it's getting going. It's the bit that makes you go, whoa.
So hope that's understood. So something fun to think about this week. Swagtimus Prime. We've been sending out swag. Things are going to be dropping on your doorsteps imminently. I know I keep saying this, but it is properly imminently because I know. So Swagtimus Prime is out in the ether and on the way. Speaking of swag, if you are getting any print work done and stuff, now is the time to be ordering. There's lots of like lead times on different things. So be sure to be making your kind of final decisions on what you want to pop in the bag. Are you popping notebooks? They're pretty practical notebooks. What day are you speaking on, Dan? Day one. I'm just trying to think, what should we do? Do we put them on the tables? Do we pop them in the bags? Because they've got the IATQB ones. No, IATQB on the tables because we've got our table sponsors. Dan might have been in touch with you about some of our corporate sponsorship packages. Not because we necessarily like, oh, you must host a table, but if you've got an audience and you've got 8 people that might want to come and watch you, it may be cheaper for them if you host a table. So get all them to throw the money in and then host a table. So we've got a corporate sponsorship package. If you host a table, it's £1,000 plus VAT. So it works out almost half price for everyone on that table. So it doesn't work the same way as the affiliate scheme, but it works out cheaper for everyone. Or you can tell everybody how much it is and cream off the top of it, but don't tell them I told you that. However you want to do it with integrity, do it right, whatever it is. With regards to the affiliate, I know Fee was asking, some of you have been selling tickets, which is amazing. Thank you so much. That gets paid out 2 weeks after the event. So once we've consolidated everything, once all the money's in and all the votes are counted and verified, that's when we pay out on affiliates, on the affiliate tickets. So just an FYI on that. Hey, Kathy, while you're here, ideas for swag. Mine needs to be eco-friendly, but not boring. Kathy is your girl for sustainability.
Yeah, I recommend, there are a couple of people who make like cloth napkins, for example. Like, I think that could be an interesting thing to put in a bag. And, you know, there's other people who do subscription boxes with like seeds and stuff.
Sunflowers, yeah, I've seen little seed envelopes is really cool.
Yeah.
Little bee bombs and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're not expensive either. The sunflower seed, wildflower seeds. Yeah. And then you can print your little business label on and it's in recyclable paper. Which day are winning the sales? Day 1 are winning on the sales so far, but it is very close. Day 2 can come and steal it. I know we're in 4 weeks prior to the event. So what we'll start seeing now is the people that have promised to buy a ticket will be saying to you, yeah, I'm going to buy a ticket. I'm going to buy a ticket. And you're like, why are you not fucking buying a ticket? It's in 4 weeks time. Like, buy a ticket. Hold tight. Do follow up with them. They'll probably be buying in the next couple of weeks. So just, you know, it's all good. Don't panic. We're over halfway sold out. We have a room full of people. This event is going off. Like, our corporate sponsorship packages have come out. If anybody knows anybody who would want to sponsor a speaker, for example, who wants an advertisement for their business as part of Be Inspired, give us a shout. We've got the PDS. We'll pop it out in your email, the link to the sponsorship PDF. So if you know anybody in your networks who might want to sponsor the Gin Nest or might want to be a headline sponsor, feel free to share it with your networks. Thank you. Seeds fit in. Yeah, they really do fit in. It's a perfect idea. How long does it usually take for the access to the vids and login details who want to play back, who can't make it live? So what it takes us about 24 hours, 48 max, because what we have to do is we have to download all of the raw footage from the Zoom link that they give us on a hard drive and then upload it. And that's what takes the time, is actually uploading it onto the platform. So it feels like it's a quick job. It looks to us non-techie people like it's a quick job, but it takes about 24 hours. So from the point of the end of day 2, that's when we get all of the footage. And then Wallace then spends the next 3 days. Once he's done all his PowerPoints, he spends his days like in editing and fixing all of the speakers areas, so it's got all your replays. So it is really super quick. It's just not immediate. Anybody who's watching along live can watch the Zoom link live. They're obviously watching it live, but yeah, that's Wallace's job in the direct aftermath. So we finish, we load up the van. I said, give us the little dongle, and then he goes home and starts the upload process, which takes fucking hours, because it's hours, it's 16 hours worth of footage that we upload. Does anyone know where I can get a bag of some coloured sweets like jelly bream? What's jelly bream? Jelly beans. All sailors. Like a macro or a Costco.
Oh, sailors. Okay.
All sailors. Sorry. My inner Peter Kay came storming out then. Garlic bread. But yeah. Okay. I was trying B&M's. B&M's might be a shout.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Or Mel saying Amazon.
Yeah, I looked on there.
Once inspired.
Jellybelly.co.uk, you can buy single colour bags by the
kid. They're well expensive though, aren't they?
Yeah.
But you'd want pink ones, wouldn't you, if you were going to do that?
Yeah, or pink and red.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, my darlings. Anything for me whilst we're together tonight? So this week, focus on your walk on music. I'm not seeing everybody in the rehearsal space. I have seen Sarah Allman Bushell giving it some beans in the rehearsal space. Congratulations, you are smashing it up. Your talks, I've done one-to-ones with all of you, I think, in the past week. Your talks are looking and sounding brilliant. The only thing you need to do now is stand inside them or sit inside them. That's all you need to do. You know them. So we're going from everything that you've written down. We're going to start to divorce the words a little bit, and each section, I want you to remember the thematics from each section. So what am I trying to say in this introduction? What am I saying next? What's next after that? What's next after that? That's how you're going to remember this. It's recall, not memorization. Otherwise, you're going to tie yourself up like our Kathy did before Be Inspired this time last year, which is having to listen to it word for word in order for her to get it right. She came out and absolutely smashed it, by the way. If anybody did catch this time last year's, the TV studio version of Be Inspired, will agree it was a proper TED Talk moment. It was absolutely fantastic. So thank you, Kathy, ever, for your experience, for your expertise, for your kindness and generosity. You're amazing. For all of you, revisit this session when you're ready. I shall stop the recording. I won't. I'll let Anna do it because she's the real boss.